weekend silence was unusual. Mark Gagnier had been trying to reach his daughter Jenna for days, each unanswered call amplifying his concern. On that fateful Sunday, August 29th, 2021, his paternal instinct screamed that something was terribly wrong. Arriving at her upscale Richmond apartment complex, he found her door locked, her car parked outside, but no response to his desperate knocks. With mounting dread, Mark forced his way inside. What he discovered would forever haunt him: his beloved daughter's lifeless body at the bottom of the staircase, her neck bruised, her vibrant spirit extinguished. The apartment walls, once pristine, now bore rambling, disturbing messages scrawled in lipstick and pen. As he moved through the nightmare scene, another horror awaited upstairs: a man's body, surrounded by blood, a knife nearby. In an instant, a father's worst fear had materialized in a scene too grotesque to comprehend. Known to her hundreds of thousands of followers as Miss Mercedes Moore, Jenna Gagnier had cultivated an image of glamour, confidence, and aspirational beauty. At 33, she had become one of Houston's most recognizable Instagram models, collaborating with major brands and celebrities. Her striking photos and charismatic personality attracted admirers worldwide, building her a lucrative career in the digital spotlight. Behind the carefully curated posts was a loving daughter and sister, described by family as the brightest light in their lives. Mercedes had mastered the art of online fame, transforming her digital presence into real-world opportunities, while maintaining the alluring mystique that kept followers engaged. What investigators pieced together revealed a chilling reality. Kevin Alexander Accordo, a 34-year-old Florida man with no prior connection to Mercedes, had become obsessively fixated on her through social media. Somehow, he had tracked down her physical address, traveled across state lines, and gained access to her private residence. The medical examiner would later confirm Mercedes died from strangulation and traumatic concussion. Accordo had taken his own life after the murder, leaving behind disturbing messages expressing both love for Mercedes and remorse for his actions. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong or a crime of opportunity. It was the deadly culmination of digital stalking turned physical. How vulnerable are you online? Could someone you've never met track you down through your social media footprint? As we scroll through our feeds, sharing glimpses of our lives, are we inadvertently providing a roadmap for those with dangerous intentions? What digital breadcrumbs are you leaving behind that could lead someone straight to your doorstep? In today's video, we'll examine the tragic murder of Mercedes Moore, unraveling how an online stranger transformed into a deadly stalker. We'll explore Mercedes' rise to social media fame, the warning signs that might have been missed, and the devastating final weekend that ended in a murder-suicide. Most importantly, we'll analyze the critical lessons from this tragedy: how influencers and everyday social media users can protect themselves from digital stalking, recognize concerning behavior, and implement safety measures before it's too late. Mercedes' story serves as a sobering reminder of fame's dark underbelly and the very real dangers lurking behind screens in our increasingly connected world. Born Jenna Gagnier on November 26, 1987, in El Paso, Texas, the woman who would become Mercedes Moore embodied Texan confidence and ambition from an early age. Growing up in the Lone Star State, Jenna developed a distinctive style and charismatic personality that would later captivate hundreds of thousands online. Friends from her youth described Jenna as naturally photogenic, fashion-forward, and possessing an innate understanding of her unique appeal. Even before social media existed, she stood out in her community with her striking looks and magnetic presence. Those who knew her noted her determination and clear vision for her future. As a young woman, Jenna moved to Houston, drawn to the city's vibrant entertainment scene and greater opportunities. The bustling metropolis provided the perfect backdrop for her ambitions, offering connections to the fashion and entertainment industries that would later prove instrumental in her rise to prominence. At the core of Jenna's life was her tight-knit family. Her father, Mark Gagnier, affectionately called her his daddy's girl, while her mother, Janetta Grover, considered her my best friend. This strong foundation provided Jenna with the confidence to pursue her dreams while knowing she had unwavering support at home. Her sister London was another pillar in her life, sharing a bond that transcended typical sibling relationships. Despite the glamorous persona Mercedes projected online, family gatherings remained sacred. Her parents supported her career choices, while occasionally expressing concern about the potential dangers of public exposure, worries that would prove tragically prophetic. Mercedes' journey into modeling began conventionally: local photo shoots, small brand collaborations, and networking within Houston's entertainment circles. However, the rise of Instagram around 2012 presented an opportunity that would transform her trajectory. Creating the persona Miss Mercedes Moore, she began curating a feed that showcased not just her physical beauty, but her distinctive fashion sense and lifestyle. Unlike traditional modeling, which required gatekeepers and agencies, social media allowed Mercedes to control her image and build her audience directly. She meticulously crafted her online presence, perfecting her photography angles, developing a signature aesthetic, and engaging strategically with followers. Each post was carefully considered, each outfit deliberately chosen. What separated Mercedes from countless other aspiring models was her consistency and business acumen. She understood that building a personal brand required more than beautiful photos. It demanded reliability, authenticity, and the ability to evolve with changing trends while maintaining her unique appeal. By 2019, Mercedes had amassed over 2 million Instagram followers, transforming digital popularity into tangible success. Her influence extended beyond casual admirers to include celebrity followers and brand partnerships. She became a fixture at high-profile Houston events, collaborated with renowned photographers, and secured promotional deals that provided substantial income. Mercedes' appeal transcended conventional boundaries. She was simultaneously aspirational and accessible. While showcasing luxury and beauty, she maintained an authenticity that resonated with fans. Her comment sections filled with both admiration and the sense of connection that define successful influencers. Industry insiders noted her professional approach to content creation. Unlike many influencers who achieved viral fame through controversy, Mercedes built her brand methodically through consistent quality and strategic networking. She leveraged her growing platform to support other Houston creatives and occasionally used her voice for causes she believed in, adding depth to her glamorous persona. Behind the flawless images and enviable lifestyle lurked the darker realities of internet fame. Mercedes faced relentless pressure to maintain her appearance, constant objectification, and the exhausting task of filtering genuine opportunities from exploitative ones. Most ominously, she navigated an increasing number of obsessive followers whose admiration bordered on fixation, a common but rarely discussed hazard of digital celebrity. The digital age has given rise to parasocial relationships, one-sided connections, where followers develop intense emotional attachments to figures they've never met. Unlike traditional celebrity fandom, social media creates an unprecedented illusion of intimacy. When Mercedes shared glimpses of her apartment, morning routines, or casual thoughts, followers didn't just admire her. Many believed they truly knew her. This perceived closeness becomes particularly dangerous with influencers like Mercedes, whose content often blended aspirational luxury with apparent accessibility. The carefully crafted impression that she was simultaneously extraordinary yet attainable created a perfect storm for unhealthy fixations. Psychologists note that these parasocial bonds can become problematic when vulnerable individuals begin interpreting standard influencer engagement, responding to comments, sharing personal stories, or acknowledging followers as unique personal connections. For some, the boundary between appreciation and obsession blurs, especially when content creators appear to speak directly to viewers through their phones, creating false intimacy that can trigger delusional thinking in predisposed individuals. According to friends, Mercedes had experienced concerning fan behavior long before her murder. Former roommates recalled her receiving unsolicited gifts at their shared apartment, prompting her first move to a more secure building. These dangerous dynamics culminated in the actions of Kevin Alexander Accordo. Unlike the vague threats or concerning behavior she had previously encountered, Accordo represented the deadliest manifestation of parasocial obsession, a complete stranger who traveled across state lines with the sole purpose of inserting himself into her life, regardless of consent. 34-year-old Kevin Alexander Accordo lived a life that stood in stark contrast to Mercedes' vibrant social presence. Residing in Florida, Nearly 1,000 miles from Houston, Accordo maintained minimal social media footprints and few meaningful connections. Neighbors described him as reclusive, rarely engaging beyond necessary interactions. His employment history showed frequent job changes and periods of unemployment.
Authorities say her body was found in her apartment in Fort Bend County, along with the body of a man who killed her on Sunday. And now her family has come forward to share their heartbreak as they search for answers following this disturbing discovery.
I've moved my daughter 3 times just because of my insecurities and the freeze, of course, but she doesn't have friends by her house. I know my daughter, and when I got to my daughter's house, and it was locked up, and she's not answering my phone, which is not like her, I knew something was up, so I didn't hesitate to kick the door down. And what I saw, I wouldn't want any parent to go through. That's the first thing. The second thing is, which is even more hurtful.
Screenshots on his devices showed he had captured this interaction and referenced it repeatedly in private notes as evidence of their connection. As his fixation intensified, Accordo began creating elaborate scenarios about their potential relationship. His journal entries transitioned from admiration to possessiveness, with disturbing passages suggesting he believed Mercedes was sending him signals through specific poses, clothing choices, or captions. A classic sign of parasocial delusion transforming into erotomania. Digital forensics revealed sophisticated stalking techniques in Accordo's pursuit of Mercedes. He created multiple fake accounts to maximize his information gathering, following not just Mercedes, but her friends, family members, and anyone who regularly appeared in her content. This network approach allowed him to piece together her movements through others' posts even when she wasn't sharing her location. Accordo utilized image enhancement software to analyze reflections in Mercedes' photos, extracting street signs, building numbers, and landmarks from mirrors, windows, and even her sunglasses. Metadata from older, unstripped photos provided geolocation data he meticulously cataloged. Most disturbingly, he employed social engineering tactics, posing as a brand representative interested in collaborations to extract information from people in her circle. Records show he joined several fan groups dedicated to Mercedes, where members sometimes shared details about meeting her or spotting her around Houston. Each seemingly insignificant detail was another piece in his obsessive puzzle, bringing him closer to physically locating the woman who had become the center of his distorted reality. The final piece of Accordo's sinister puzzle likely came through a combination of determined research and exploitation of Mercedes' digital vulnerabilities. Investigators believe he identified her apartment complex through a distinctive architectural feature visible in the background of several photos. Property records, which remain publicly accessible in many states, potentially confirmed his suspicions. Most concerning was evidence suggesting Accordo may have used a food delivery service to verify her exact unit number, placing a small order and selecting hand delivery to confirm her residence. Flight records showed he traveled to Houston 3 days before the murder, renting a car and conducting surveillance of her movements before making his fatal approach. In retrospect, warning signs existed in Accordo's increasingly erratic online behavior. His comments progressed from complimentary to possessive. He began referencing private details Mercedes hadn't publicly shared. Friends reported seeing the same profile picture appearing under different account names in her comments. Most alarmingly, he started addressing her as if they shared an established relationship, digital red flags foreshadowing physical danger. The sequence of events that led to Mercedes' murder began on Thursday, August 26, 2021. Security footage from her apartment complex captured Accordo's rental car entering the visitor parking area at approximately 2:15 in the afternoon. He remained in his vehicle for nearly 3 hours, appearing to monitor the entrance to her building. By Friday morning, Accordo had made his first attempt to approach Mercedes, following her as she returned from a morning workout. Neighbors later reported hearing a brief verbal altercation in the hallway, though none intervened. Mercedes' last public Instagram story was posted that afternoon, a casual mirror selfie that gave no indication of her growing concern about the stranger who had approached her. Phone records show Mercedes called a close friend around 7 that evening, a conversation lasting 22 minutes. The friend would later tell investigators that Mercedes mentioned a weird guy who claimed to be a photography client, but she hadn't seemed overly alarmed. Saturday brought an ominous silence. Mercedes, typically active on social media throughout weekends, posted nothing. Her phone showed several declined calls. The building's security system logged multiple attempts to access her floor using the resident elevator, attempts that required key fob access she hadn't granted. By Saturday night, Accordo had somehow gained entry to her apartment. What transpired inside would remain known only to perpetrator and victim until Sunday's grim discovery. Mercedes' final days revealed a woman living her normal life, unaware of the looming danger. On Thursday, she had lunch with her sister London at their favorite Houston restaurant. Staff remembered her as upbeat, discussing plans for an upcoming Miami trip and a potential collaboration with a major fashion brand. Friday morning began with her regular routine, a workout session followed by coffee at a local cafe where she was a regular. The barista who served her recalled a brief conversation about an upcoming photo shoot. Mercedes' last financial transaction was a small purchase at a convenience store near her apartment around 6 that evening. Her final text messages to friends contained nothing unusual, sharing a funny TikTok video, confirming plans for the following week, and asking a friend's opinion about an outfit. The ordinary nature of these interactions makes what followed all the more chilling. A vibrant life continuing forward, completely unaware that a predator had locked onto her and was closing in with deadly intent. Mark Gagnier's paternal instinct began signaling alarm by Saturday evening. His typically responsive daughter hadn't answered calls or texts since Friday, unusual for someone who maintained close family contact. By Sunday morning, his concern had escalated to genuine fear. Something felt wrong, Mark later told reporters. She never goes this long without responding, especially to family. After attempting to reach Mercedes' friends and receiving no reassurance, Mark made the fateful decision to drive to her apartment. When repeated knocking yielded no response despite her car being present, he convinced the property manager to check on her welfare. When that proved inconclusive, Mark took matters into his own hands, forcing entry into the apartment that contained his worst nightmare. What Mark Gagnier encountered upon entering his daughter's apartment was a scene of horror that would forever haunt him. Mercedes' body lay at the bottom of the staircase, positioned in a way that suggested she had been dragged there after the attack. The medical examiner would later confirm she died from strangulation and traumatic concussion, indicating a violent struggle. The apartment showed signs of extensive disturbance, furniture overturned, personal items scattered, and most disturbingly, writing covering multiple walls. As Mark moved through the nightmare scene in shock, he discovered a second horror upstairs, Accordo's body, surrounded by blood, with self-inflicted knife wounds. Police investigators noted that the position of Mercedes' body and evidence throughout the apartment suggested she had fought fiercely for her life. Defensive wounds on her hands and forearms indicated she had resisted her attacker with determination. Blood evidence suggested the struggle had moved through multiple rooms before ending at the staircase, where her father found her. The walls of Mercedes' once pristine apartment had been transformed into a disturbing manifesto written in lipstick, pen, and what appeared to be blood. These rambling messages revealed Accordo's deranged mental state and the twisted logic behind his actions. "I should have stayed in Florida," read one scrawl. Another proclaimed, "I truly love you, Mercedes." The most chilling message stated, "I was used by everyone except Mercedes." Richmond Police Department responded within minutes of Mark Gagnier's distressed call. Officers immediately secured the scene and launched a dual homicide-suicide investigation. Detective Andrew Runge, who led the case, described it as one of the most disturbing crime scenes in his 17-year career. Investigators faced the complex task of reconstructing how Accordo located Mercedes and gained access to her apartment without forced entry. Digital forensics teams analyzed both victims' phones, computers, and social media accounts. Florida authorities simultaneously searched Accordo's residence, discovering the elaborate stalking documentation that revealed the premeditated nature of his actions. The investigation confirmed what many feared. This wasn't a random crime, but a calculated act by someone who had studied his victim from afar before striking. The Harris County Medical Examiner's report provided the grim details of Mercedes' final moments. The official cause of death was listed as homicidal violence, including strangulation and traumatic concussion. The autopsy revealed she had been strangled with significant force, causing distinctive bruising around her neck and broken blood vessels in her eyes. Blunt force trauma to her head indicated she had been struck repeatedly or her head had been slammed against a hard surface. Defensive wounds on her hands, broken fingernails, and skin cells found under her nails confirmed she had fought desperately against her attacker. Toxicology reports showed no substances in her system, indicating she was fully conscious during the attack, a detail that only amplified the horror of her final struggle. News of Mercedes' murder spread rapidly across social media, generating an outpouring of shock and grief. Her final Instagram post accumulated millions of comments as fans and fellow influencers expressed disbelief. Hashtags like #JusticeForMercedes and #ProtectInfluencers trended for days. The circumstances of her death sparked intense discussions about influencer safety and the darker aspects of online fame. Some media outlets initially speculated about robbery or relationship violence before the stalking element emerged, prompting criticism about victim-blaming narratives. Conspiracy theories and misinformation also proliferated, with false claims about Mercedes' health status or lifestyle choices causing additional pain to her grieving family. A cruel reminder of how public figures often face scrutiny even in death. For the Gagnier family, the nightmare extended beyond the initial loss. Mark Gagnier, haunted by discovering his daughter's body, spoke publicly about his overwhelming guilt. "I always worried about the people following her," he told reporters. "I warned her to be careful. Now I'll always wonder if I could have done more to protect her." Mercedes' mother, Janetta Grover, described losing the brightest light in our family. In a heartbreaking interview, she revealed how she still found herself calling her daughter's phone just to hear her voicemail greeting. "No parent should have to bury their child," she said, especially not because someone became obsessed with the online persona she created. Her sister London faced the additional burden of addressing the rampant misinformation circulating online. "While we're trying to grieve, people are making up stories about her," she stated. "She was a beautiful soul who didn't deserve this, and she certainly doesn't deserve the lies being told about her now."
And it went from false accusations of HIV or COVID to other things, and nobody even reached out to talk to us.
On September 4th, 2021, hundreds gathered at Davis Greenlawn Funeral Chapel in Rosenberg to honor Mercedes' life. The day before, friends and family released white balloons at Terry Hersey Park in Houston. The memorial saw not only family and close friends in attendance, but scores of followers who felt connected to her, a testament to her impact beyond the digital realm. For those building an online presence, implementing strategic privacy measures is essential. Experts recommend using separate business entities to purchase property, keeping real names off utility bills, and utilizing P.O. boxes for all correspondence. Content creators should regularly audit their posts for inadvertent location reveals, reflections in windows, visible street signs, or distinctive architecture that could identify their location. Two-factor authentication, regular password changes, and separate accounts for personal and public use create crucial digital boundaries. Many influencers now delay posting until they've left a location and deliberately obscure home, interiors, and content. Perhaps most importantly, establishing a relationship with local law enforcement before problems arise ensures faster response when concerning behavior emerges. Those facing online harassment should immediately document all concerning interactions before blocking. The Cyber Civil Rights Initiative, CCRI.org, provides comprehensive resources specifically for digital harassment. The National Center for Victims of Crime operates a stalking resource center with specialized guidance for influencers and public figures. For immediate safety planning, the Ned Safety Net project offers technology-specific security consultations. Many police departments now have cyber divisions trained in digital threats. Contact them before emergency situations develop. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok have enhanced their reporting systems for concerning behavior, allowing creators to flag potential stalking patterns rather than just individual comments. Remember, persistent documentation creates the evidence trail necessary for restraining orders and criminal charges if stalking escalates. Mercedes Moore's life was extinguished by the darkest consequence of online fame, a stranger who confused digital connection with real relationship. Her story stands as a sobering reminder that in our increasingly connected world, the line between admiration and obsession can blur with deadly consequences. May her tragedy spark meaningful conversations about influencer safety and digital boundaries. If this story impacted you, please hit like and share it with someone who needs these safety reminders. Comment below with your own digital safety practices. Your insight might save a life. Subscribe to Explosive True Crime Stories for more cases that educate and protect. Remember, awareness is our strongest defense against becoming the next tragic headline.
Sweet with them as she is with us. She took care of people. She's just a sweetheart. And my baby's gone from a tragic event that didn't have to happen. And it's just dangerous. So happy and so funny and just so loving, and she just loved to joke
it would be all
around.
about her.
Yeah, as it is.
We wouldn't be up here. It would be all about you.
As it should be. As about her. And again, we're going to remember that amazing spirit, that funny laugh, that 4'11" body, but that 8 tall, experience that we all got. So I appreciate her and love her, and we'll miss her forever and ever. Ever and ever.